pushes way up the racetrack, and now here comes Janzik. Janzik goes by Query, and he goes by Inman. Burnell gets a great run, another 3 wide for the race lead. It's going to drag race off of turn 4. Shepard is there, but it's Larry White at the line. Still going to be Pat Ward, and they make contact. Britton has broken the race car. AJ Slideways. Alan Johnson wins.
Whether you hug the infield tires or rip the cushion, you found the fastest dirt track podcast in motorsports. Welcome to Where Legends Are Made, the official podcast of Land of Legends Raceway. Here's Stephen and Brad Ovens.
Welcome in, fans, to this week's episode of Where Legends Are Made, the official podcast of the Land of Legends Raceway. My name is Steve Ovens, and it's going to be a quick podcast this week, as we've got a sit-down interview with most recent opening night winner for the Speed Connection Sportsman, Karl Comfort. He picked up the win on opening night on April 30th. We had an opportunity to sit down with Karl and talk about his history in racing, what took him away from racing at the Land of Legends, and eventually what brought him back to racing at the Land of Legends Raceway. And he got it his season here in 2022 off to a great start. It was a great interview, and I know a lot of people have been waiting to hear this one, and I appreciate everybody's patience in allowing me to have some time to get this put together and put it together the right way. But with that being said, a little bit shorter version of the podcast this week, so enjoy this week's A-Main interview with Karl Comfort.
By the grace of God and 800 horsepower, it's time for the A-Main interview of the week.
That's right. It's this week's A-Main interview of the week, and we're going to talk to a driver who picked up a big win this past Saturday, and in what really is a return to Land of Legends Raceway, a place that he knows well. It was a very, very popular win on Saturday night. Karl Comfort joining us on Where Legends Are Made. And Karl, first off, man, congratulations, man. What a big night on Saturday. How has it been kind of processing? Has it kind of sunk in since Saturday night?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it was just amazing. And, you think back to it and you're like, I can't believe that even happened the first night out like that. It's been a long time since I've been in victory lane at Canandaigua.
Yeah, I mean, I think for some folks, before we talked about the record books during the race on Saturday night, they probably may have even thought it had been longer than 6 years. Did it feel longer than 6 years to you?
Yeah, kind of, because it's been so long that, you kind of forget, but it's been such a long career that makes a difference too. But it was unbelievable. That's for sure.
Yeah. Let's go way back. Let's go back to the very beginning. And I watched an interview that Doug Elkins did with you recently, and man, he really did a nice job on that. Asked a lot of questions, kind of talking about your racing history. And for some of the Land of Legends Raceway history buffs out there, you brought up the name Scott Schrader, and some of the history that you guys talked about was really pretty cool. What was it though? What was the very first thing that kind of brought you to racing at Canandaigua? How did your career start? Was it in Sportsman?
Yeah, it actually started in street stocks. I did a couple of years of that, but the beginning really was, I was talking to Tom Skabinski Saturday night too, to find out the year when Glenn Donnelly took over in 77. That's when my father worked out there, started working with him on the track. And I was 10 years old, and they were having problems with the track, and they were out there watering in the evening. Even Glenn was out there, and they would get in. Remember the days when they had pickup trucks for Packers and they were driving. He's like, Jimmy, throw your kid in one. And he's like, he's only 10. He goes, I don't care. We got to pack this track in. So, well, I'm driving around there at like 30 miles an hour, if that, at 10. Those guys were flying around, running in each other, having the time of their lives back in the beginning. And that's really when it started. I didn't know I was going to be a racer then, but that's the first time I started turning laps at Canandaigua.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. It's
Yeah.
crazy to look back at something like that now, That's that's pretty cool. I love hearing that, how the racing bug got them. I know how it got me and got my little brother, but man, I love hearing everybody's story, because everybody's story is different. It's not always well, dad drove, street stocks and dad drove modifieds, and that's what I did. It's
Right.
I love the diversity of how it bites everybody different. But um so you start out in the street stocks, and what was it that was there something that clicked? Did you have some success and say, okay, now it's time to move up? How did the progression to Sportsman go?
I guess in the beginning, I went out in my first street stock race and I got lapped by the field. And I think I ran in the novice class and I had the time of my life. I couldn't wait to get back out there, and I got killed literally by everyone else. And then it was Scott Schrader who pushed me into racing. And then he really pushed me in to get a Sportsman and just move up and start going from there.
Wow.
And, haven't looked back since, really.
Yeah. And, you were talking with the interview with Doug, kind of how, as Scott would upgrade his equipment, that would mean that you get to upgrade your equipment because you take over what Scott had.
Absolutely. It worked out good for me. He would get nice, fresh stuff, and we get some pretty good equipment for a really discounted price. So it worked out good. And we used to go, when we didn't race, we would always go with Scott and help Scott and the rest of the Canandaigua gang guys. So it was a lot of fun back then. It was a lot different than it is now. I kind of miss those days. It was definitely a lot more fun.
Sure. I think for the traditional Canandaigua fan, they know Scott Schrader, they know Scott's story, but with the implementation of us giving away our live video every week, we're starting to attract fans who have never heard of our racetrack before. And so there's a very good chance that people watching Victory Lane on Saturday night said, man, who's Scott Schrader? Because it sounds like it's somebody that really meant a lot to this Karl Comfort guy. How would somebody that didn't know Scott Schrader, how would you describe him to somebody?
He was definitely a competitor. I mean, when he got in the car, he wanted to make sure he had the best, and he would drive hard to get to the front too. There's no doubt about it. And he put a lot of time into it, and it meant a lot to him and his family.
Yeah.
And he liked to have fun also. So we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. You on the record books at Land of Legends, you've got quite a pile of wins on that list, and 2 track championships back to back, by the way. What were those 2 years like? I mean, you guys, it seemed like you couldn't do any wrong in those 2 seasons in particular.
Yeah, that's right. Because we had K&D Gravel. Doug Litz was our sponsor, and he owned the car. And we had it actually was 3 years. We lost the title to get 3 in a row to Justin by, I think, Justin Ayers by 4 points. So we were really, at the end of the 90s, we were doing really well in Sportsman, traveling around to big races. And at Canandaigua was like our home. I've turned so many lap certs. It's almost unreal.
Yeah. Has there, we just talked about the fact that, in between wins was 6 years, but was there any years, I'm trying to piece the timeline together a little bit. Was there any years that you stepped away from the sport completely, or have you kind of kept going right along?
No, there was a couple times that I stepped away. It was, I took a year off in 98, and then in like 04, 05 or something, I took a few years off too, a couple years, and then came back. So, and I also spent, I think 01, 02, we ran modified for a couple years, but we just didn't have the budget to be able to run with those guys. And now it's, the budget's even bigger than it was then.
Sure. So hold on. I'm piecing this together now. You mean to tell me you took an entire season off of racing and then came back and won 2 championships, almost 3 in a row, just like that?
That's correct.
Wow. Talk about getting right back on the bike and riding, huh? That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, on top of the years I raced before that, when I was in high school, when my father watered the track, I would go out weeknights and he'd take a night off and I'd water the track. So before I even hit a race car, I used to drive around there in a water truck for many a boring laps.
Oh, that's good stuff, man. Well, let's talk about the win on Saturday. Man, that was big. And I know, from the conversation you had with Doug on practice day, you guys kind of, you're looking at, running a couple nights a week, but kind of seeing how things go. Was it even on your radar going into Saturday night that what ended up happening was on your radar and a possibility?
Well, I didn't know what would happen, but I knew I always had a chance because, Canandaigua was my place. So I knew I had a chance, but that car is new to us. It's a coil car. So I haven't even run that car in a feature until Saturday night. And that's the first feature I've run as a coil car. And when I drew that one, I was like, I got a real good shot here because when I get out front, that's tough to get by me. I know that on that type of dry track, it was going to be, I definitely thought I could do it,
Yeah.
and I just couldn't believe it.
So you go out there, you're still kind of trying to learn this car, and you get the win on Saturday, but afterwards, how was the car over a 25 lap run? Were you happy with it? Do you think that there's still more that you can improve? The reason I ask this is because one of our street stock stalwarts, Josh Pangrazio, he can go out and spank the field by 7 seconds and stand there in victory lane and say, well, the car still could be better. So let me ask you that question. You ran well, you won the feature. Can that car still be better?
Absolutely. We weren't 100% sure if it, because in the heat race it was okay, but I knew it had to be better in the feature for us to win. And we talked to Chris Doherty, who runs down, his son Jeffrey runs, and Chris used to, down at Outlaw, and he always gives us pointers because he said, this is new to you, you need to have any problems, call me. And I called him before the feature and talked about some changes, and he suggested some stuff, and we did like 90% of it. Figured that would be enough to try for this week, and it worked out great. I mean, we could do a little bit more, but the car was really good, that's for sure.
Awesome.
And yeah, it's always good to get help from people who know
Yeah.
more than you do.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Now, I've had a few drivers that I've interviewed lately that, have talked about, looking up and seeing certain numbers pop up on the lap leaderboard. Do you glance at the lap leaderboard at all while you're out there?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
Because I try and keep track of who's really making gains on you, or if somebody is, they're kind of fighting with somebody else. And see, I always watch for Paul Guerrieri, because back in the day we used to have a lot of races, and I know he's going to run the bottom where I was, and I knew Kane Bristol was fast too, but it seemed like I had a good line and I was fast enough. So I was just trying to keep track of who was where and see if somebody I didn't even know came right up into the top 5. Then you'd really be wondering how fast they were.
We had a restart with 4 to go in that feature. And what are you telling yourself under there? Because that's, that starts to get to be a little bit of a pressure situation. You're the race leader. There's only, you're either going to stay in the lead or there's only one way you can go from that point. What are you telling yourself with 4 to go under that yellow?
I was just telling myself to hit my marks. Don't make a mistake. If I don't make a mistake, I'll be fine. But if I get out too far, wide in the corner, Kane would probably go under me. So I just had to make sure I kept it down and kept it tight coming off and see what would happen then.
Yeah. Then you take the checkered flag, you get through those 4 laps just fine. Nobody even really got under you or was even close enough to really mount a charge coming to the checkers. But you take the checkered flag, and then all of a sudden guys start driving up alongside you, giving you a signal. I saw Paul Guerrieri give you a little shot in the keister on the back stretch.
Yeah.
And I know you referenced it in victory lane, but for our listeners here on the podcast, What did that mean to you to have those guys do that?
It was great. I mean, that showed a lot of respect that we had for each other. And those guys, they don't want to see me come back there. I used to be a pretty good competitor there. You don't want to see another guy there that might beat you. And they still gave me the respect. And afterwards, a lot of guys came over to our pit too. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. And I'd probably be remiss if I didn't ask you this, but I know that for a while that you didn't run at Canandaigua, and you talked about your reasons in Victory Lane. And man, I'll tell you, that the emotion of that Victory Lane, like for me as an announcer and somebody that works in media with motorsport stuff, that's what we do this stuff more, man. Like I love seeing a driver that's not afraid to show just how much it means to win one of these races, because they're so damn hard to win. And I know you said kind of why you stepped away from running at Canandaigua, but I'm curious to know what it was that, you had the loss in your family, and that was kind of why you stayed away for a little while. But what was it that re-sparked? What was it that, got you over that hump to say, okay, we're going to go back and try this? There's a certain level of, pain and maybe some sadness that kept us away for a little while. But what was it that brought you back?
Uh, Mostly it's just kind of, that was my thing with my parents and especially my father. And I was like, you know what? I'm missing that, not being at Canandaigua. That's where I should be. I should go back there. And it feels great to be back there now. For a while there, I definitely wouldn't come back. My parents were there to see my last win. My dad was alive then.
Yeah.
And I felt like, I've accomplished everything I wanted there and I don't need to go back. Now I feel like there's something missing. And it was going to Canandaigua, where we used to have a lot of fun for many years.
Did you go to watch it all over those 6 years, or?
No, I guess
Okay.
we went twice at the end of the year to just try and run one of those special races after the point season was over. But last year, I watched quite a few features on my phone on
Okay.
Saturday nights while watching whatever else. And I
Yeah.
think that kind of helped push me over the edge. You know what? I need to go back there.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it worked out.
I absolutely it did. Nail a win down on night number one, and we kind of almost got lost in the shuffle of the emotion of your Victory Lane and just how real a moment that was. What kind of got lost in the shuffle is there's a big race at the end of the year that you're now locked into. So that's kind of the cherry on the top for you guys.
Yeah, it is. And Jerry Ayers, was a big part. We always talk to them and all those guys, and that'll be great to be in that race too, because we have a lot of friends after all these years. From whether you compete against each other or not, you're still friends at the end of the day.
Yeah. Now, does the win on Saturday, is it too early to say, rather that, changes how you look at, well, we're in it now. Now we're definitely coming back every week, or is it still too early to say that?
Yeah, we'll definitely be back the next few weeks and see how well it goes, coming through the pack and everything. But, I missed it so much. I didn't realize how much I missed it till I went there and I won. That's just, you couldn't script the story better than that, I don't think, to come out and win that.
No, man, that's honestly, that is what makes our sport so cool. When those moments don't happen all the time, but man, when they do, that's why we do it. I don't care if you're a driver, a crew guy, a fan, an official. That's why we do this stuff, man. That's what makes this stuff fun. But
Absolutely.
what a great way to start off the season. I want to congratulate you on that. And I don't want to, we have such a focus at Land of Legends on the marketing partners, not just for us at the track, but for the drivers too, and making sure that everybody's getting the exposure that they need to keep these sponsors coming back and keeping our race teams going. Tell us about, the folks that you guys have got on board this year and have helped get you guys to victory lane on night number one.
Yeah, it's Tom and Dar Fox. That they have been with us for 6 years, and they get us the stuff that we need, and they're there at the races. They're in your pit area. They support you 100%, and that makes it a lot easier. And all the guys that help on the car, it's just takes a team effort, and we've been together a long time. A lot of the guys that work on the car were here in the beginning. So
how'd the celebration go on Saturday?
It went pretty good. Even though we're old, we had a good time.
That's good.
Yeah, it was, once I got past the emotion part of it, it was pretty cool. And all those guys, everybody was emotional and had a good time. And, it was almost a disbelief that we came back and it happened like that. I mean, it was totally amazing that something like that could happen.
Well, before we get you out of here, I've always got a couple questions I ask drivers before we get them out of their interviews. First question for you is something that a race fan, even a longtime Canandaigua fan, something that a race fan might not know about Karl Comfort. Something you enjoyed doing outside of racing, or any fun fact outside of racing?
I enjoyed coaching girls basketball. We had an AAU team because my daughter was into basketball, and they ended up coaching kids from every school in this area. I've coached a bunch of girls in basketball and had a great time doing it. And that kind of filled some of the void on Saturday nights too, because we had a lot of fun and I could forget about the racetrack.
Yeah. Well, that's very cool. 5 laps to go. You've got your choice of being out front or being the guy trying to chase the leader down. You're coming up on lap traffic, 5 to go. Where do you want to be?
In the lead.
I think you showed that on Saturday night, right?
Yeah.
Oh, good deal. And last question, not on a race night, guys are looking for something to do, going to go out to eat. Favorite place to go out for dinner?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. My favorite pizza shop is Don Giovanni in New York City.
Oh,
yeah.
There you go.
Can't get there that often. So then any pizza shop, I always used to go to Pontillo's afterwards, after the races. That was always a good one.
You're not the first person to tell me that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Hey, Karl, I appreciate the time to join us on the show this week. It was a super popular win on Saturday, and I know a lot of our fans are going to enjoy hearing from you after the win and kind of breaking all that down. And for new fans that we've created here the last couple seasons, learning a little bit more about these drivers and kind of, the thing I think we do that is the greatest thing for our fans is kind of getting that peek behind the curtains and getting under the helmet with some of our drivers to, kind of explain to our fans all the things that are happening. It's a lot more than cars just going around in circles, and anything we can do to highlight that is a great thing for our fans. So I appreciate you taking time out of your night here this week to help us make that happen.
No problem. I appreciate you having me. That's for sure.
All right, folks, there's Karl Comfort. He picked up a big win on Saturday night, gets himself locked into the Gerald Hares Memorial Sportsman Challenge presented by Sterling Lubricants. You'll see him on Saturday night driving the Fox's Auto number 10. Be sure to look for him. 2-time Sportsman Track champion and just added another win to his racing resume. That's our A-Main interview of the week. My name is Steve Ovens. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoy the content, and by all means, if you have any suggestions, a driver you'd like to hear from, a driver that you think needs a little bit of spotlight that doesn't get a whole lot of spotlight over the course of a race season, message the Land of Legends Raceway page, send me a private message, send me a tweet at Stephen Ovens on Twitter. Be happy to take any and all of your suggestions to give content that you want to listen to and you will enjoy. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on Saturday night as we get ready to go to work.
Land of Legends Raceway fans, tune in each and every week of the racing season to Where Legends Are Made, a podcast dedicated to covering the drama, excitement, and hear from the drivers from your favorite dirt track. Stephen Ovens and Brad Ovens walk you through the week that was Where Legends Are Made. Subscribe on Apple or Google Podcasts and visit landoflegendspodcast.com.
Fans of Land of Legends Raceway and the Where Legends Are Made podcast, we've got a great opportunity for you to feature your business. We have opportunities here to sponsor Where Legends Are Made. We have all different features of the podcast. You can pick to be a sponsor of one of our heat races. Maybe you want your business name attached to the top 10 read-offs for the week. Maybe you want your business to be the one that's heard when we play our highlight of the week. Maybe you're a history buff. You want to sponsor Heat 3, where we talk about this week in Land of Legends Raceway history. Maybe you want to be the main sponsor. So when we interview our main driver of the week, you want to get your business out in front of that. We've got plenty of opportunities for you to do so, and we can work inside of any budget. And believe me, if you're listening to this and you're saying, oh, I don't think my business has the advertising budget to sponsor a podcast, believe me, we can fit inside of anybody's advertising budget. Get your business a little bit of advertising here on Where Legends Are Made. Contact us right here on the Land of Legends Raceway Facebook page if you're interested, and put your business in front of all of our fans where legends are made.